What's up, y'all? Good morning, man. August the 10th, 2025. Welcome to the Podcast with Soul. The Podcast with Soul, myself, Sean Xavier Gumby Sr. We do not wish to slander, libel, or defame anybody as it relates to the content of this video. Today we're going to be coming from the Cassandra Ventura versus Sean Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Records, Epic Records, and Combs Enterprises LLC, federal complaint, jury trial demand, case number 23-CV-10098, filed in the Southern District of New York by Cassandra Ventura and her attorneys. Her attorneys are Douglas Wigdor, Meredith Firetog, and Michael Willerman. This is the civil suit that Cassie filed against Puff. This is filed on November the 16th, 2023. Puffy settled this suit for $20 million with Cassie. This civil suit was the foundation and the basis for the Southern District of New York and the United States Attorney Damian Williams to file the criminal case against Puffy. One count of RICO, 2 counts of sex trafficking, one with Cassie, one with Jane Doe, and 2 counts of the Mann Act, one with Cassie, one with Jane Doe. Puffy took the case to trial. Puffy beat the RICO. He was acquitted of the RICO by 12 jurors, a jury of his peers. He was also acquitted of the sex trafficking cases on both Cassie and Jane Doe. He was convicted on the 2 lesser counts of prostitution, one with Cassie and one with Jane Doe. But as we know, the statute of limitations on the Mann Act is 5 years, and Cassie's Mann Act charge very well may be beyond the statute of limitations once you strip away the RICO joint. But that's for Puffy's attorneys to research and look into. I don't really know, but I do know that the statute of limitations is 5 years for a RICO. For a Mann Act. Now, in this lawsuit filed by Doug Wigdor, Wigdor LLP, 85 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10003. This civil suit is replete and full of misrepresentations, omissions, and outright lies and perjury. I went to the Puffy trial every single day except maybe 4 or 5 days I may have missed, but even the days that I missed, I also would read the transcript. What we're gonna do now is I'm going to go through this document and I'm going to point out to you all of the lies that are in this document that Cassie told to Doug Wigdor, where she perjured herself on the stand and in this document. And I'm also going to show you where Doug Wigdor signs off on this document full of lies. And as an attorney, as an officer of the court, he has a duty of candor to tell the truth and to take some action and do some footwork to find out the truth of what his client is telling him. First part we're going to go to is page 8, paragraph number 37. Although Mr. Combs knew that Cassie was in a relationship at the time, and even though he was publicly in a relationship with Kim Porter, Mr. Combs nevertheless pursued Cassie. At an after party in a hotel suite following Cassie's 21st birthday party, Puffy pulled Cassie into a bathroom and forcibly kissed her. Cassie did not consent to this unwanted contact. She immediately ran out of the bathroom and the hotel suite and cried. She told her best friend at the time about what had happened, but was too scared to tell anyone else. This is a cold-blooded lie, because as Cassie testified to on the stand at the trial, Puffy did show up to her 21st birthday with Britney Spears and Dallas Austin, and that was the first time that he kissed her. And if I remember correctly, I think Cassie testified that Puffy kissed her on her forehead. Nothing to the extent of what Douglas Wigdor has put in this document: unwanted contact, forcibly kissing her, running out of the bathroom, all of that. None of that came out during the testimony under the cross-examination by Ana Estevello at the criminal trial. Next page. Page number 10, paragraph 45. In early fall of 2007, Mr. Combs flexed his power and influence when he paid a promoter to create a fake flyer for a party hosted by Cassie. This fake posting allowed Cassie to have an excuse to go to Miami, Florida, and get away from her boyfriend. By using the guise of a legitimate event she had to attend. Cassie was stunned at how easily Mr. Combs was able to recruit others to lie for him. The way Cassie testified about this incident, let me keep reading. Paragraph 46. Ms. Ventura was uncomfortable with the fake flyer, but because the request to go to Miami was made by the owner of her record label, and because she was scared to go against his wishes and face repercussions to her nascent career, Cassie agreed to join Puffy in Florida. During this trip to Miami, Puffy provided Cassie with copious amounts of drugs. She became more intoxicated than she ever before had, and her intoxication lasted throughout the weekend trip. As she wanted Mr. Combs to continue to support her career, she felt she could not refuse Mr. Combs' urging to take more drugs. This was all a lie. None of this came out during the trial. In fact, what we learned under the cross-examination by Ana Estevello of Cassie was that Cassie was dating Ryan Leslie at the time, and Cassie wanted to go and spend the weekend with Puffy in Miami, and that Cassie was willing and complicit to do the fake flyer to give her a reason to get away from Ryan Leslie so that she can go to Miami and spend time with Puff. It also came out during the cross-examination that Cassie would regularly, while she was still with Ryan Leslie, meet with Puffy in New York at various hotels during this time. It also came out that Cassie was doing drugs before she met Puff. She was already getting high. Yes, her and Puffy did get together and they used drugs together while they were together, but the way Doug Wigdor makes this sound, this is as if Cassie is being forced to do something. That was not the case during the trial. More lies told by Doug Wigdor, because as we found out, Cassie was a willing participant. She was just as much in love with Puffy as Puffy was in love with her. So here we have again Doug Wigdor, Meredith Firetog, and Michael Williman signing their name to a document that has lies in it in federal court. Let's keep going. How y'all doing today? Y'all doing all right? Page 15 of 35. Mr. Combs forces Miss Ventura into sex trafficking. Mr. Combs forces, this is Doug Wigdor in New York City, Meredith Fattah, and Michael Willamine. Mr. Combs forces Miss Ventura into sex trafficking. Puffy was acquitted of sex trafficking. This is defamation, this is slander, this is libel. Here they talk about the freak-offs and how the freak-offs started. And what we learned during the trial is that Cassie not only was a willing participant in the freak-offs, that Cassie was heavily involved in spearheaded the picking of the male entertainers. She chose which male entertainers she wanted to be with. We also found out that Cassie carried on personal relationships with these male escorts when Puffy was not around. She would get in contact with these male escorts, one by the name of Jules that she talked about. They had their own special friendship. This was with one of the male escorts. We've also found out recently that her and Clayton Howard had a relationship for over 7 years, and that she had got pregnant by Clayton Howard and aborted the baby without his knowledge. We've also found out through Clayton Howard that Cassie gave him a sexually transmitted disease we found out was chlamydia. We learned that there were maybe over 20 to 25 different male escorts that Cassie was involved in during these freak-offs. Here in paragraph 81, at certain points during Cassie and Puffy's relationship, Puffy would insist on a freak-off weekly. That is a lie. Cassie testified on the stand that there were times where Puffy would ask her to do a freak-off and she would say, "I don't feel like it." And he would say, "All right, cool. We don't got to do it. Let's do something else. Let's go out to eat, or let's go to the park and walk." She was not forced on a weekly basis to do freak-offs. That's not what came out at the criminal trial, and that's not what came out in Cassie's testimony on the stand. This is paragraph 80, page 16. Paragraph 18, page 18, paragraph 91, and paragraph 97. Puffy treated the forced encounter as a personal art project. Puffy would even present Cassie with lavish gifts prior to or in the middle of freak-offs, seemingly acknowledging the ways in which these forced sexual encounters constituted work for Miss Ventura. These encounters, these freak-offs, were not forced. We saw text messages between Cassie and Puffy where Cassie would text Puffy that she couldn't wait to do another freak-off. Puffy even texted Cassie one time saying, "Listen, let's do one more freak-off and that's going to be the last one that we're ever going to do. This is the last time." Cassie texted him back saying, "No, this is not going to be our last time. This is going to be the first of a lifetime of freak-offs between me and you. I always want to freak off with you." This is what Cassie said back to Puffy in her text messages. This is all what came out in the testimony. More lies told by Doug Wigdor and Cassie in her civil suit. Page 19, paragraph 102. We've gone over this. Doug Wigdor, Meredith Firetog, and Michael Willerman in this document on page 19, paragraph 102. After the freak-off, Puffy and Cassie went back to her hotel room that Cassie was staying in, where some of Cassie's friends were already hanging out. Puffy was severely intoxicated, and at one point during the night, Puffy picked up one of Cassie's friends like a child and dangled her over the balcony of a 17th floor hotel suite. This was a cold-blooded lie told by Doug Wigdor. Under cross-examination, Brianna Bogelin, which is the friend that they're talking about, Nicole Westmoreland, busted her on the stand, got her to commit perjury, uncovered the perjury on the stand. That whereas when Cassie says this 17th floor balcony situation took place in a hotel suite, her friend, who was supposedly the girl who was dangled over the balcony, said it was at Cassie's apartment. Cassie says it was at a hotel suite, that she was there. Her friend says that it wasn't at a hotel suite, it was at Cassie's apartment, and Cassie was there. Come to find out, during the cross-examination and the testimony on the stand, Cassie was with Puffy in New York City during the exact time that this 17th floor balcony incident was supposed to have taken place in Los Angeles. So it would be impossible for Cassie, Brianna, and Puffy to be in LA at a hotel suite or at an apartment. Cassie and Brianna couldn't get their stories together. It's impossible for all three of them to be in LA when in fact they were here in New York. Puffy was doing a signing at Macy's. He was doing a charity benefit up in Harlem for the Boys and Girls of Harlem. And he was doing his Bad Boy reunion tour, and he was staying at the Trump International ordering room service because Nicole Westmoreland had the receipt of the hotel night at the Trump International showing the dates and times that they ordered room service. This is another lie told by Doug Wigdor. Another lie, paragraph 106, page 20. In 2011, during a rough patch in Mr. Combs's and Cassie's relationship, Cassie had a brief relationship with Kid Cudi. They were in a relationship for over 1 year. That's not a brief relationship. The way that it was initially told to the public is that they had a relationship for 1 month, for like December of 2011, and that was it. And once Puffy found out, the relationship was over. But Capricorn Clark testified on the stand that she had got Cassie a burner phone, and that Cassie and Kid Cudi had been involved in a relationship for over 1 year. That is not brief. Another lie told by Doug Wigdor. In February 2012, this is paragraph 112, during Fashion Week, Puffy told Cassie that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. This is another lie told by Doug Wigdor, Meredith Firetog, and Michael Willerman. It came out during the trial that there was absolutely zero evidence, zero video footage, zero photos, zero fingerprints, zero DNA, zero eyewitnesses ever placing Puffy at Kid Cudi's house. But what did come back on Kid Cudi's car in the Molotov cocktail that was thrown into his car was the fingerprints and DNA of a female. Another lie told by Doug Wigdor. Stay with me, y'all. Don't go nowhere. I think I got a couple more. Page 23, paragraph 130. Look at that right there. Mr. Combs takes the kitty cat from Cassie. In September 2018, Cassie joined Puffy for a dinner at an Italian restaurant in Malibu, California, for what Cassie believed would be a discussion about concluding their relationship for good. After dinner, Puffy and Cassie returned to Cassie's house, which Puffy was paying the rent for. Puffy forced himself into the apartment and tried to kiss Cassie. She told him to stop and attempted to push him away. Mr. Combs then forcibly pulled off Cassie's clothing and unbuckled his belt and proceeded to rape Cassie while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. This story we know was a lie, as it came out with Cassie on the stand under cross-examination by Anna Estevao. Cassie did say on the stand she used that word rape because she had to, because that's what it said in this document, and Cassie had been granted immunity from being a co-conspirator in the whole thing along with Puff. What happened was Cassie testified that they did go to eat in Malibu at an Italian restaurant. They went back to her crib and they did their thing. They got busy. They did the raccoon. While Cassie and Puffy was doing the raccoon, Cassie's now husband, Andrew Fine, called Cassie on FaceTime. They both looked at the FaceTime, Cassie and Puff, and did not pick it up and continued to carry on doing what they were doing. He later found out, Cassie's now husband, later found out that she was with Puff during this time. And at this time, I don't know if her and Andrew were married, but they were in a full-blown relationship. And Cassie lied to Andrew, lied to her now husband, and said that Puffy took the kitty cat from her in order to make an excuse and justify her not answering the FaceTime and her being with Puff, which was all a lie. And Doug Wigdor put this lie into a federal complaint, which is attorney misconduct. It also came out during the trial that after this incident that I just spoke about 2 or 3 weeks later, Cassie and Puffy got back together again, saw each other again, and he hit it again, and she gave him some again, willingly. She was asked on the stand by Anna Estevao, says, well, why did you meet with him again after you're saying he took it from you a couple weeks prior? Why did you meet with him again? And I can't even remember what she said, but she was confronted with that. Page 25, paragraph 139. Following Cassie's escape from the cycle of abuse and sex trafficking she endured, Puffy was found not guilty of sex trafficking. Slander, Libel, and Defamation by Doug Wigdor. Page 26. Cassie is a victim of sex trafficking. Defendant Sean Combs perpetrated sex trafficking and Cassie by requiring her to engage in forced sexual acts in multiple jurisdictions. She was induced to have sex by force, fraud, and coercion. These are all lies told by Doug Wigdor, Meredith Feiertag, and Michael Willerman. These are the attorneys for Cassie. And these three attorneys filed this civil suit in federal court full of misstatements, full of lies, full of defamation, full of slander, full of libel. And as officers of the court, they were required to take greater care in filing a document like that, knowing and alleging things that were not true, but they were after the money, and money can make you do some strange things or make people do some strange things. All of the male, Cassie is now being sued by multiple male escorts for sexual assault, trafficking, and abuse. A lot of the male escorts have said that she was a co-conspirator with Puff and should have been on trial with Puff. All of the male escorts have said that she was a willing participant, and never did they see her feeling or appearing like she didn't want to do what she was doing with them. They always said that she always called them and summoned them and made them come see her. One of the escorts was with his girlfriend. She called him and told him, "You better get over here or else we'll never call you again." So Cassie was just as much involved in this thing as Puff, yet she, through her lawyers, was able to file this document and win a $20 million civil judgment against Puff. Well, she didn't win it, Puffy settled it, and that's the case. So I just wanted to point out the fact that, and then Doug Wigdor was the main one writing a letter with Cassie after Puffy got sentenced, saying that his bail should be denied, that he was dangerous and violent, which is all lies, So that's what this attorney did. This is public information. You can pull this document down on Pacer. And these are all the lies that were told against Puff. Not to say Puff is the best nigga in the world. I watched my mother be a victim of domestic violence. So I'm not condoning domestic violence. I don't participate in domestic violence. I don't believe in it. But much of what we were told about what Puffy did and what he didn't do, a lot of that was all lies to shape public perception to be against Puff before the trial even started. Yet, when we went to the trial and heard the testimony, an overwhelmingly amount of what was said in the mainstream media was not true. Sean G. Podcast was sold. Peace.